All right. So, welcome everyone to the Mega Alumni Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another episode. Mega is the graduate student organization of the Mechanical, Aerospace, and Nuclear Engineering Department at The Ohio State University. And as a part of this alumni podcast series, we're looking to engage our current grad students and even undergrad students with alums from our department, see how their career trajectories have gone once they've graduated, how they have found relevant jobs for themselves. And without further ado, today's guest is Madhura. My name is Nehal. I'm one of the hosts, and today I'm also joined by another fellow Mega member, Mustafa, who's also hosting this episode with me. We are both doing the PhD program in the department. And without further ado, Mustafa, do you want to take it away and start with our questions with our guest?
Thank you, Nihal. Thank you, Madhura, for being with us today.
Thank you.
I will start. The first question is, what motivated you to pursue a PhD in mechanical engineering?
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
to add to that, Madhura, could you also give everybody a quick maybe introduction, like a short introduction of about yourself?
Oh, for sure. So, hello everyone, and first of all, thank you, Mega, for having me. I hope I have some useful information to share. If not, it'll be just like a chit-chatting session, I guess. So, my name is Madhura Athale. I uh, was an Ohio State student. I did my master's and PhD in mechanical engineering at OSU, and I continued on as a postdoc for almost 2 years in industrial engineering, also at OSU. And now I work at Apple in Cupertino, and I am a modeling and simulation engineer here, uh, mostly doing FEA, finite element analysis.
Gotcha.
Great. So tell me, Madhura, you had your bachelor's back in India, right? And
I
then
did, yes.
then you did your master's here in mechanical engineering at OSU.
Yes, I did. And to answer your question about why PhD, it might sound a little bit quite cheesy, but this is my genuine answer that when I was finishing my master's and thinking about what next, I really felt that I didn't know enough and I needed to uh, just learn more. Uh, that is really my answer. And I didn't feel prepared for whatever may come next, like a job or something. And at the time, to be honest, I didn't even know much about what research meant. For some people, it's like they always know that they want to get into research. It really wasn't that for me. Uh, I just needed to learn more. And fortunately, around the same time, my PhD advisor, Professor Purvograt, who has a joint appointment in ME and ISC at OSU, was looking to hire PhD students, and I happened to hear about that. I went to talk to him, and um, the work that he was doing sounded very interesting. Uh, But if not that, I was looking also at other schools to apply. So this was a little bit around the same time, and I ended up maybe applying to one or two other schools, but this felt like a really good fit. And I already liked OSU so much, so I decided to continue there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that is clearly because you did your PhD, your master's PhD, and your postdoc at OSU,
I
right?
did, yeah.
Is there any different experience between IAC working as a postdoc and doing a PhD in mechanical engineering?
Interesting question. In terms of the work itself, there wasn't a lot of difference for me because I continued in the same lab. So I pretty much continued the same research problem, the greater research problem that we were working on. But in terms of the expectations that you have from yourself and also your supervisor, your PhD advisor, or your postdoc PI supervisor has from you, that definitely and should be a little bit different because after a PhD, you are expected to uh, be able to conduct your own research without a lot of supervision. For me, that transition was a little bit more difficult because it was with the same people, and it was a little bit harder to make that transition, even in my own mindset, that I was always looking towards the research scientists or the PIs for some more guidance because I still felt like I was in that same space. Uh, so just to be more confident in your own abilities is where I guess that difference comes from. Also, one other thing is you don't have any coursework anymore, but that has already happened towards the second half of your PhD, let's say, or in the end of your PhD, that you're solely focusing on the research. Another thing is sometimes in your PhD, you obviously everyone gets that self-doubt, and you are pushing through partly because you just want to get that degree and finish your research work and get that degree. But as a postdoc, that's also a little bit different. There is no degree to be earned, but it's more about as much as you can learn from that position, because at the end of the day, postdoc is definitely a temporary, it's like a contract-based position, so it's temporary, and you are constantly thinking about what next in your career path. That part is maybe similar to PhD because you are also thinking about that during that time. So those were a few maybe similarities and differences.
Got it. Madhura, could you maybe get into some details on what research you were doing as a PhD student, and then how that kind of changed when you got into the postdoc? So, like you were saying, because you were in the same lab, in the same environment, it was, working with the same people, potentially working on projects that you're kind of somewhat familiar with, or maybe very familiar with. So, once you transitioned into being a postdoc, did you start maybe initiating new ideas or new projects as well? Was that something that was expected of you? And yeah, just kind of get some idea on what the PhD work was and then how that changed as you moved into the postdoc role.
Yeah, for sure. So during my PhD, I was focused on, so our group did a lot of manufacturing materials related research. So I was working on developing what we were calling soft tools. So the tools themselves were 3D printed with polymer-based composites, and we were developing those tools to be applied for sheet metal stamping. And this was a collaborative work we were doing with Honda. Honda was the sponsor, and the motivation was to develop these tools for small volume production. So not mass production, because of course you need tool steel tools for mass production of sheet metal parts, and sheet metal stamping because that's the most used, I guess, manufacturing process in the automotive industry for several components in the car. But the motivation here was to have that small volume production down uh, because typically only the same sort of tools that are used for mass production are also used for prototyping or small scale production. And that is a lot of maybe wasted cost because it takes a lot of time and money to make these mass production tools. But if you are only looking at prototyping while you are still iterating your designs, you don't need the tools to last for 100,000 parts. It's okay if they can only make 100, 200, or 500 parts. But if you're saving a lot of cost in making the tool
Mm,
and saving a lot of time, the lead time to get that tool ready, and while you're making the design iterations, you want to have tools that can easily change because they cost less. You can maybe make more iterations of the tools. So all of that was the motivation for that work, and we were tasked with developing the tools and studying their longevity, uh, and also the if they are comparable in terms of the parts they can make, comparable with the traditional tooling. So that was the whole work. And into my postdoc, as I was graduating with my PhD, our lab received two large DOE projects. And one was kind of an extension of this work, the tooling work that I was doing. Another was a little bit more fundamental, where we wanted to look at the process microstructure and performance relationship of several different materials. And I believe Mustafa is also uh, highly and very closely involved with both of these projects now. In terms of looking for new projects as a postdoc, I didn't have to do that in a lot of, and actually, that's a very good experience to learn. Uh, Unfortunately, I didn't get to experience that, but if you are someone who wants to make a career in research or in academia, that is a helpful skill to learn, is how to write proposals and get grants. I didn't get to experience that, but if that is on your horizon, you should definitely look out for opportunities, and you can even ask your PIs, even maybe as a graduate student. So we did do that in our group as a grad student and as a postdoc, that we would help with providing certain, let's say, preliminary results to put into the proposals, but we weren't directly involved in writing the proposal itself. So if you're interested in that, that is something you should look out for and try to learn.
got it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So, Madhura, now you work, as you said, as a FEA engineer at Apple. Can you walk us through it, how you landed this kind of job?
To be honest, I don't know if I have a good answer. It was just looking at m- many different job postings, as I'm sure everyone does, uh, on various career websites of the companies, also through LinkedIn, if someone posts any openings, other career websites like Indeed, and so on. So, just looking at several jobs, and I guess keep at it, just always applying. A couple of things that I don't know how well I followed, but I have been told by other people when I was looking for advice, was always networking, and reaching out to people either already that you know who are working in certain positions, who can give you referrals, because uh, that helps put your, and again, I have not been on the hiring side, so I don't know how much it helps. Also, every company is very different in their hiring approach, but what I've heard is that it helps get your resume in front of human eyes, not just through uh, a software that is scanning several resumes, and maybe you don't get the language down, or oh, there are so many. I believe these days with AI, also there are so many tools to help reword. I guess, your resume and cover letter so that you are including a lot of the keywords from the job posting itself. So even if it goes through a software, it picks up all those keywords and puts your resume in front of uh, the decision maker.
Got it. Got
Great.
it. The Yeah, I was wondering. So I know some other people who also applied at Apple. I think I know some friends who are not in mechanical who work there as well. But I know that their whole hiring process and interview can be um, quite lengthy and like have a bunch of different tiers and process and interviews and everything. Could you maybe just give us like a brief overview of, what that process looked like for you? Like, was it three, four interviews? Was it interviewing with just the HR, with some technical leads? Like what that looked like?
Yeah. So definitely every company is different, and I'll start with Apple. So I believe it was a very informal phone conversation with the HR or the recruiter, um, followed by a screening round with the hiring manager, who is my manager now. Um, that screening round, at least for our team, was mostly about a lot of fundamental technical stuff. And this is one thing that you can always ask the recruiter when they are approaching you about what to expect in the next round of interviews and how you should prepare for it. So, uh, I don't know how helpful it is, but they do tell you that expect a technical round with these topics of conversation or these lines of questions. Another thing is to ask people who who are already working in that company and asking their interview experience. And I made this mistake. I also interviewed at Apple several months before this. I think just as I was graduating with my PhD, or I don't remember it now, but I realized that I wasn't prepared for the kind of interview at all, because
Mm,
up until that point, the other places, other companies that I interviewed with were only asking me about what was on my resume.
mm,
And because you are doing your PhD or postdoc or whatever, or even master's, you really know your resume very well. And I didn't really have to prepare for it at all, because I had been preparing for my defense, and you really know everything that is there to know about your own research. So that was such a breeze. And then when I did that Apple interview, it was more about all the different fundamentals of all the different topics that I might have done through my coursework or my research at grad school, but not too specific about my research topics. And I definitely wasn't prepared for that at all. So when I was given this opportunity to interview after many months again at Apple, I knew what to expect, and it was to really prepare for that interview. So that was one round. Then the next round was like a panel interview with, I want to say it was, I don't remember how many people attended. It was a round of presenting your research work. And later I found out that what they were looking for wasn't uh, a whole bunch of, like a whole list of what all you have done, but just staying with one topic and taking it from beginning till the end, and really explain it well. It
mm,
doesn't have to be, that's what I heard later after I joined the team, that a couple of people who joined the team after their masters, not PhD, so they didn't get into the depth that a PhD research gets into, but they were very good at explaining what they did and the reasoning behind it, and kind of the whole story, the motivation behind it, and the approach they have taken and the results they got. It didn't have to be. a long list, but a well done work, although it may be a small chunk of work. So that presentation was followed by, I believe, 6 or 8 interviews, technical interviews with the entire team. And that was quite exhausting. Uh, and most of it was really getting into the details of technical aspects of the job. And looking back, a lot of it was what I would need for my job day to day. Some of it was more like a textbook type of questioning. So it helps to prepare the typical interview questions as well. Uh, some of it was just trying to gauge my understanding of just fundamental things like strength of materials or kinematics or engineering intuition, which can't be taught really, I guess, but you just develop it over time. And all of that was followed by one other technical round.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
But in a lot of other companies that I have interviewed at, like I said, they would either focus solely on the resume, or sometimes it was a very informal, just a conversation with the hiring manager,
Right.
just to see your cultural fit.
Hmm.
I
Gotcha.
heard later on that the particular team that I work at in Apple, they also do look at your cultural fit if you are going to be a team player, easygoing, working with others. That is also quite important to a lot of companies.
Makes sense.
So, what is like some of the key differences you notice between academic research and industrial work? Like maybe culture or technically?
Mm. Yeah. So in academic research, of course, for the most part, we are doing it because of genuine curiosity. We are trying to satisfy that curiosity at some level. And of course, you do need to produce results because you are being funded by some grant, and you are also in academia in general, it is also very results driven because you will get the next grant if you have shown good results for the current grant that you have, or depending on how many grants you get. I don't know a lot of details, but I do know that it's very important also for tenure track to show that you have successfully received a certain amount of money through grants, and you have successfully helped X number of students to graduate and so on. So that is also very results driven. But the problems themselves are definitely way more fundamental.
Hmm.
And we always use this technology readiness uh, term. So in academic research, of course, that technology is not going to be ready to be used in industrial applications or any sort of applications today, but in the next 5 or 10 or 15 years. Whereas, of course, in industry, it's a for-profit business. So everything comes from that. It's a business decision. Everything is a business decision. Whether to spend time solving a particular problem or going around it is also a business decision. And I'm still trying to learn because I came from that postdoc background, and industry is much more fast-paced than research. And I am still trying to adapt to that change. What I've heard from a lot of other people who went from research to industry is this transition is difficult for them because you feel invested in that particular problem and you want to see it through till the end. But sometimes in industry, you just don't have the bandwidth to do that because you have so many other things to do that you have to let go and be okay with it. That your effort uh, is not going to result into anything because the direction somewhere beyond your control has now changed, and now you need to work on this other thing that is more pressing today. So that is a big shift. Culturally, uh, I was very fortunate in both places to get amazing people to work with. So, for some people, the experience can be different in that typically academic research, the environment is maybe more formal. The relationship you have with your PI or advisor as a PhD student is maybe a little bit more formal, whereas in industry, the team that I'm in is more informal in your relationship with your manager or your superiors.
Got it. Got
That
it.
can vary greatly from company to
From
company.
team to team. That, yeah, that
Yes,
that
that
makes
too.
sense. That makes sense. You kind of touched upon this a little bit, Madhura, about, how the pace of working and everything and the way you're tackling problems is fundamentally different between academia and industry. I'm curious if you can get into how much ever detail you can into what your typical work schedule and day-to-day work task list looks like at Apple, and how whatever you did during your postdoc or PhD has kind of given you some skill set to, you know, tackle with that work at Apple. And then also if you're acquiring new skills to maybe get through your current role at Apple.
Yeah. Uh, the most important skills that I have seen a lot of people gain, or I guess I should say, the skills that will help the most in industry is uh, knowing a lot of different tools. In my case, software tools. So I'm in the simulation space, and uh, luckily for me, I was using Abacus in my research, and my team at Apple uses Abacus predominantly. But I have seen that in a lot of other roles across different companies and even different teams within Apple, it helps to at least know uh, a wide variety of tools. So if you have some time to spare during your PhD research, which I know is already very difficult, um, but it will help to pick up additional uh, tools related to your work. So in my case, let's say for FEA, the different FEA tools, but in addition, different pre-processors, post-processors that you will need for your work. It helps to have several options that you already know, because in a lot of companies, they do ask if you know a particular tool and they have preference for it. The knowledge is definitely transferable between tools because the fundamentals stay the same, just how the tool operates is different, but it makes for an easier transition uh, from one to another if you already know a bunch of things. Other thing I have found useful is a little bit of scripting for automation, because industry is so fast, or at least at Apple, it has been my experience that it's so fast that it helps if you know how to do the same work more efficiently. So, um and I know that these days everyone is really up to date with, let's say, knowing and using Python or other scripting tools to simplify your work, automate parts of it, and become more efficient. But if you haven't had the chance to invest time to do that, I would highly recommend doing that. One important thing I think the industry uh, expects that you have already, and that's why they hire you, is just overall problem solving. And as graduate students, we all have experienced this, that your advisor doesn't exactly know the day-to-day of how you're going to get this thing done. Uh, but they know overall that this is what we need to do. And then it's your job to go and figure out, if you don't know something, let's say for a software tool, looking through the documentation, searching online and through other resources to figure out how to implement this particular thing. Uh, that problem solving mindset, I guess, that is very useful in the industry, because for a lot of the times you will not know uh, how this particular thing is being done, because everyone around you in the team has been doing it for a while and you are new to that environment. So just that mindset really helps, that even if you don't know something, you know how to find out, how to
Mm.
figure out to do that task.
Got it.
So
Got it.
those were a few things
Got it.
I think
And
help.
yeah, anything that you can probably share a little bit
Oh,
on
in terms
in
of day
like
to day.
yeah, in
Oh,
terms of
yeah.
day-to-day.
Sorry, I
No, no
totally
worries.
went another
No worries, no
direction
worries.
on that
You answered
question.
the other part of the question, of course.
So in terms of day to day, for my role, it is focused on FEA of different sensors in all of the Apple products. And uh, our team mostly does structural, thermal FEA, a little bit of some members do a little bit of CFD too, or multiphysics simulations too. And um, the day-to-day mostly looks like we already have a bunch of ongoing FEA requests that I'm working on. Uh, which is very similar to what I was doing in my research too, that you are setting up your models, you are doing the pre-processing, which includes meshing and defining your uh, model parameters like boundary conditions and other things, uh, running the models, seeing if they make sense physically, looking at them. Uh, that's where your that engineering intuition comes in. Um, Looking at the results post-processing, and then conveying those results to someone who doesn't have this FEA background. This is a very big difference that I didn't have to face in my PhD, because
Mm.
everyone around me was already familiar with uh, the work, or let's say familiar with uh, solid mechanics or whatever your domain might be. But here, because I work with a lot of cross-functional teams, um, I'm still learning, and sometimes it's very challenging to explain either the problems you're facing or the results you're looking at to someone who doesn't have the same background as you. And finding that common ground about what they might already know, and how can you explain the remaining stuff based on where they are at. And of course, you don't know about their work, and that's also sometimes challenging to understand what the other person is trying to convey, and really asking sometimes almost very silly or basic questions, but you have to not be ashamed to ask, because that's what will help you get through your work day. Other thing I have had to kind of do differently is keeping track of many different projects that are ongoing
Mm.
simultaneously, and I'm still learning how to best manage your time to do that because everyone uh, is always asking you about updates on what is important to them. And they are different people, but you are the same person working on the multiple projects. Uh, and really, the day to day just looks like this uh, every day.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So you maybe touched it on that, but I want to ask, looking back, what was the most challenging transition point in your career, academically, professionally, or personally?
Um, the most challenging so far has been the transition from research to industry. And that is because initially like I said, I didn't get into PhD because I was so keen on the research aspect. But over the years, I really developed that genuine interest for it. And through my postdoc time, I was seriously considering and contemplating whether I wanted to go into academia, so the tenure track route, or just research, so something like a research faculty or research at a national lab, versus industry, which seems like a very different, and it is a very different career path. And that decision for me was really the most challenging. And there are several aspects because it's about your own um, temperament, what you think suits your personality the most, where you want to see yourself in a few years or a decade or longer, what your family situation is, if you have a partner who is in a particular industry, in a particular location, and you are trying to uh, solve this equation of different locations, different jobs, and which career path might make it easier for the family aspect, or which career path might be more stable if that is something that's important to you. So that decision, and it took me months of going back and forth because I genuinely did like the research that I was doing. I had to do a lot of soul searching, and what helped me the most was talking to people from very different backgrounds. So I talked to people who were in academia, but not someone from my advisor's generation because that was a different time, but people who have recently been successful in academia, been hired as tenure track professors. Um, People who were in industry and made the transition to academia, or the reverse from academia to industry, people who worked at national labs, uh, really many different kinds of career paths. And I talked to all of them to understand how their work life looked like, what sort of skills were important to be successful in that career path, to try to see if I had those in me, or if I wanted that lifestyle, if I wanted to develop those skills that way, and if I was ready to accept the challenges that come with that particular career path. I tried to really think about all of these things and talk to all of those people, and finally made this decision to uh, come to industry and not pursue academia. Also, I told myself that I had to be um, okay if down the line this decision doesn't feel like the right decision, and I want to make the transition back because for me at the time, at least, that was an important thing, that I didn't want to feel stuck in one place. I wanted to have that flexibility, and then deciding which career path will give me more of that flexibility to make the transition later on. That was the most challenging point so far. Uh, and other challenges were definitely during my PhD years, because I'm sure everyone goes through that phase of self-doubt. Uh, why am I here, or am I even good enough going to be able to do this? And you see all the people around you who seem to have figured everything out. They know exactly what they want, where they want to be, and you are someone who either doesn't know or doesn't know how to get to that point where everyone else seems to have figured it out. But it seems difficult to believe at that time, but really believe me that even all of those people around you have this self-doubt inside them at some point or the other. It helps to have someone to talk to, a trusted friend, family member, mentor, anyone.
That's a really good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Madhura. That's something that I think has come across from all the other guests who have been on the podcast as well, and kind of the reason that we're doing this too. Like, we just had a brief chat before we started recording, and the whole idea is to, yeah, just talk about this. And as you mentioned, the stressful years during your PhD when you're making these decisions, trying to figure out what career paths to pick, just knowing about,
Yeah,
what the process was like for you, some other alums gives us current current PhD students some hope and some idea. I
for
see that,
sure.
yeah, I see that we are running short of time slowly. We do have some questions. So, Mustafa, do you want to kind of take the remaining two questions and I can do the final wrap-up question after that?
Yeah, sure.
Sounds good.
Uh, Madhura, what kind of soft skills or personal traits helped you most in transition from the academia to a high impact role in the tech industry?
Hmm. I think it's just the particular traits that I have in my personality that I think have been helpful. But uh, that's not to say that if you don't have these traits, it's going to be somehow uh, not as advantageous for you, because everyone navigates these things so differently. For me, just being open to learning new things, or hearing from others, and being okay with being perceived as not knowing everything. So just asking people when I don't know something, which is very difficult to do because you don't want to be seen as someone who doesn't know what they are doing. Um, but fortunately, the people around me, even in my current team, have always given me the confidence to ask questions whenever you don't know something. But it still takes a lot of courage to ask that. Other thing is just being, I guess, easygoing with people, because you will have to work in teams or collaboratively with other people, and being just respectful of others, which is like very basic things. I don't think there is anything special that you try to, or at least I try to develop. Uh, but just you see the people around you and you try to do your best to fit into that environment. So I guess adaptability is another thing. Mm. And to be thrown in a completely new environment and still be able to get through. I think in some ways it helps to have a little bit. of a thick skin, which I personally think I don't. And small things can sometimes emotionally affect you a lot, which isn't very great for these types of transitions. So, and understanding that in most cases, if someone is giving you some advice on, let's say, something that you are not doing quite right, it's not always a personal attack on you, but just for your work, they are trying to be helpful, to give you advice and tell you how to do certain things maybe better. So I guess taking that feedback positively, that's an attitude that can definitely be helpful.
Got
Great.
it. Got it.
So, what kind of advice would you give to current grad students, especially those from international backgrounds who are exploring careers in tech or advanced simulation?
There must be so many things, and you must have already received advice from different alumni. One thing I have noticed about international students is that international students typically, and I apologize because I'm generalizing here, but they don't sell themselves very well. And that seems to be an important, I guess, skill, at least here in the US, in the industry, that you uh, you be confident in your own abilities. And we all have that imposter syndrome, but I have seen this more from international students, that they have more of that imposter syndrome, and they don't know how to sell themselves, which because the recruiters or the hiring managers, they don't really know you personally. So whatever you put in front of them is all they get to see during that interview process. They don't have the time to get to know you beyond that. So obviously you always try to put your best foot forward. Uh, but I think it will help in general to be a little bit more confident, assertive, and of course, the fundamentals like the domain knowledge is definitely the most important, because it can't just be the outward facade that you put, because they are going to see through that. But I'm sure that everyone is already working on the technical aspects. But this is something that is an additional thing, which I don't think I did very well either. And I see a lot of international students make that same mistake.
Got it. Got it. Thank you for sharing. This is kind of in, I guess, this is the general wrap-up question that I ask all the guests. Is what advice they would give to, current grad students at different parts of their grad program. And I think Mustafa also had a slight variation of this. If thinking of your like younger Madhura self, and if you had to go back and give her some advice to do something over again in terms of professional development or career planning. So if we think of, let's say, for example, three stages at which that grad student is maybe just starting off, or somewhere midway through the program, or someone who is very close to graduating, applying for jobs in that stage. What kind of advice or wisdom do you want to share with grad students and those different stages?
Oh, that's a heavy question. And I think about it for myself a lot, that, oh, if I could go back, I would do this or that. Um, I'm not sure how helpful it's going to be, though. Uh,
That's fine.
Maybe one thing is, if you already know what career path you want for yourself, which I didn't know, but if you already know that, it definitely helps to pick up relevant skills when you have the chance, at every chance you get, um, because that definitely builds up that resume, which is eventually going to help you get to wherever you want to be. And I think I didn't do enough of that. I didn't try to find all of this information proactively in the early years of my grad school journey about what I wanted to do next. Uh, I was just maybe I got complacent in at some points that everything, I mean, the coursework and research seemed good, and I still have, let's say, 5 more years of this, and I don't need to think ahead that much, is what I did, which I don't think is very helpful because I ended up not utilizing my time in the most optimal way during that period. And then later on, I felt that I didn't have enough time for all the things I wanted to do and learn before I went out into the real world, something like that. So if you already know, it helps to think ahead. I guess that's something I'll say.
Got it. Got it. Thank you for sharing, Madhura, and thank you for joining us for this episode. Thank you, Mustafa, for also joining me to co-host. Always happy to have other mega students join in and pitch in on this podcast. Uh, so,
Thank you for having me, really, both
of
of you.
course,
And
pleasure.
I hope it is going to be useful to someone out there because a lot of it, it felt like it wasn't very well structured from my end, the answers, and most of it was just ramblings. So I hope at least parts of it can be useful to some students out there.
No,
No, no,
Madhura,
no.
you did a great job.
Great job.
Thank you for your time. You have a lot of insights, especially for people that started their own, graduate journey. It will be really, really helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. And there was no unnecessary rambling or anything. I think you did a great job. So please please don't be so hard on
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
And I think we wanted that kind of uh, a person kind of talking about their experiences just without too much structure or thought, right? Because that's what sometimes we need to see, that everybody is kind of figuring out, thinking through, reflecting on what their entire journey was like. So perfectly good responses
Great.
and amazing. Before I stop recording, is there anything specifically you would like to share about, opportunities at Apple, or if some current grad student is looking to work at Apple, do you have any specific advice or career page link or something that you would want to shout out?
Um, I know that in my team there isn't any opening currently, or at least for a fresh grad. There may be some for more experienced uh, people. Uh, but the careers at Apple, the career website at Apple is always, I want to say, up to date. So if you see any openings, and feel free to also reach out on LinkedIn. Uh, and or if you know other people at Apple, make sure to connect with them because that can help you down the road as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Perfect. Well, thank you both again, once again joining for this episode, and I'll go ahead and end this one for